Welcome to PrepsNet Coach Speak with Fairview Aggies head football coach, George Redding Jr., powered by Campus Traditions. Here's your host, Aubrey Johnson.
Welcome back, Coach.
Thank you for having me.
All righty. So this past Friday, you extended your winning streak. You beat Ardmore 42-7, and you extended the streak of scoring more than 40 points per game. Really a good turnout, Coach.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, I was proud of our guys. I felt like we played it at a high level, maybe a little bit of a slow start early offensively, but we kind of found our way as we went,
Right.
and we was able to find some opportunities to score in the first half. I think we was able to get 3 touchdowns, I think, in the first half, and I really felt like we found our groove late in the second quarter and then especially in the third quarter. I think defensively our guys played hard. And,
Right.
They had some different things that they were able to do in order to cause us some problems. I felt like our guys did a good job of adjusting throughout the game and making plays when needed.
Nice. So great play on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us first about the offense. Who played well?
Well, I think we did a good job up front, offensive line wise. We struggled a little bit early at the receiver position with some of our blocking and things like that. But we really challenged our guys at halftime to correct that. And so I was really excited about how they responded to that at halftime, coming out in the third quarter, really trying to establish the edge in the run game with their blocking and execution. But again, I felt like our run game overall was where it needed to be. As always, it could improve. But I was excited for what we was able to do up front.
Okay, tell us a little bit more about the defense.
Defensively, they were big about lots of RPOs, and they definitely had some guys that could stretch the field on us.
Right.
And so we had to make some different adjustments with those guys and be able to. We got ourselves on some islands at times, and they had a couple of miscues. They had some guys that got open and they just overthrew it. So we were very fortunate there. But that's part of football. But our guys did a good job of just adjusting after that and finding ways just to make plays defensively.
Okay, good deal. So this coming Friday, you host Lawrence County. Mm-hmm. The Red Devils are coming in. It's your homecoming, so that's a big deal. Tell us, they have not done well so far. They're 1-3 on the season. Tell us a little bit about what you expect to see from them.
Well, one thing we know we can see is going to be a tough, hard-nosed football team that fights. And the reason being is because we've got numerous years where that's been the case. Doesn't really matter where you're at as far as record-wise or what had happened in previous games. They've got a rich tradition in showing up and being well prepared and fighting hard for 4 quarters. We have had some wars with Lawrence County over the last few years, and that's a tribute to their culture and what they do over there. We have tremendous respect for them and what they do, and super excited for the opportunity to play them and the game that's coming up, and it being homecoming, how awesome that is for our school and our community to come in and celebrate our colors and our student body and our community. So a lot of events going on this week that can sometimes be a distraction, but you have to try to balance that, because what wonderful moments our kids have to experience those things. But we remind them the reason why we have homecoming is for that Friday night football game. So we still got to prepare at a high level.
Yes, sir. Good deal. So after this Friday's game, you sit at officially midseason. Yeah. We're right there. We're halfway through. Give us an overall assessment of the team so far.
That's a great question, and we just talked about a little bit the other day, this past weekend, the coaching staff, about how fast the season's flying by, and I feel like every year things move even quicker, and I think it's just because of we talked about a minute ago, the grind and the process, but things are moving fast, and I am proud of this group. We've taken steps forward. There was some uncertainty about some positions, and I think some of those positions are solidifying a little bit. But also at the same time, I feel like we're developing some guys that are able to come on and help us.
Nice.
I feel like our coaches have done a good job of getting some guys on the field to give them some game-like reps.
Sure.
And how can you help us when you're in the middle of it? And so with that being said, our guys, the funny thing is, every Monday we come in and we assess, and I give them an opportunity to tell me some things that they thought of the last week.
Yeah.
And so many things that they're proud of, but so many things they list of things that they know we can do better.
Absolutely.
So I love the mindset of continuing to get better and improve. So it's important for our group to continue to do that right now at the midpoint.
Okay, very good. So looking into the second half of the season, what are some of those goals that you're hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, and I think just continue to play at a high level. You know, it's important that when you get into the second half of your season that your playing and your execution level is extremely high. And it's going to be important for us to be able to do that. We've had some slow starts early,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
correcting some of those things, eliminating some of our mistakes that we've had in the first half. You know, are you willing to watch film and identify the things that you're struggling with, and then continue to improve and grow in those areas? And so just overall, I think playing at a high level needs to be kind of the one thing at the top of our list right there. And I think these guys will take that on and do that.
Okay, very good. So you've got coming up on the 26th, that is actually a bye week for you, Coach. Besides prepping for Russellville, how else will you use that time?
You know, I think that week is very important to balance. You know, we give our guys off a couple of days that week, you know, while still balancing the fact of we got to put in the work. And so we want to get our legs back under us just a little bit during that week, but with a major focus on us and us continuing to improve the things we need to improve on. And yes, we do. You know, you do have a Russellville game coming up after that, and there'll be some things that are being worked on as far as that goes. But you know, we have such a focus here at Fairview for us to focus on us, and because if we don't continue to improve and do the things that we need to do, because really that's the only thing we can control. And if we'll improve the things that we can control, then you know there's a chance of success down the road.
Okay, very good. So we're going to add a little segment here, and we're going to spotlight one of the assistant coaches.
Okay.
And you had mentioned to me previously you wanted to talk about Coach Simmons. Now, my understanding, you told me Coach Simmons has been with you for 19 years. That is some serious longevity. Tell us about him. What makes him special?
You know, I couldn't say enough about our staff. You know, we've talked about this, I think, in a previous segment about having maybe a smaller staff. There's only 5 of us, and I feel like we shake hands every week with staffs of 10 and 12. But there's a brotherhood to that. There's a family in that. And there's also of all hands on deck type of environment that we have with our staff, you know, with Logan Baird, Mason Black, John Stedman, and then also with Brian Simmons that you mentioned. Brian Simmons has been with me for 19 years. When I got the head job in 2007, we had hired him in as an assistant, and he's been with me ever since. And, you know, that's just so unheard of.
That is so unheard of.
Longevity, loyalty, and just willing to work alongside with somebody for that long, you know, and we've talked about how coaches like the lifers, the ones that come in and put 25 or 30 years in that profession, is some of that's fading away. And but for someone to come in and then be in an assistant role and a defensive coordinator for that long and just stand by, you know, by your side for that long, it's just unheard of. And,
it is.
And I have tremendous respect for Brian Simmons and what he's done for our program, our school. He's a tremendous part of any success that we've had here.
Yes, he is.
And I think probably the greatest thing for me is relationships, and for you to be able to work along people, but also consider them to be friends. Man, I think that's just an added bonus, and that's the situation I'm in now.
That's fantastic. Coach, that's our show. We appreciate your time. And as always, we appreciate yours. Join us again next time for another Fairview edition of Coach Speak.